Hey guys, we're Mira, Will and Lola, and in 2021 we converted a Mercedes Sprinter into our dream tiny home on wheels. So after we did that, we spent a year traveling all around Europe with our van cat Lola, who has decided to leave. She didn't want to be in the video. We went all the way to Scandinavia, down to Spain, and then we did some of the Balkans as well. And now we've decided to start a brand new van conversion.
Well, yeah, we are a couple of months into it now. Months? Maybe 6 weeks into it now. We have done a couple of videos already, which you might have seen. So last video we talked about giving your van a little bit of a makeover, which included respraying some bits, adding a roof rack, a ladder, a spare wheel holder, some cool kind of off-roady upgrades. So yeah, if you want to go check that video out, then there's a link in the description and it'll be somewhere here as well.
This week we decided that we'd do something a little bit different. We've been finding that just doing the van conversion content is a little bit impersonal. So yeah, today we've decided to do a Q&A. We asked you over on Instagram and TikTok for any questions that you had. Yeah. Also, if you're not following us over on there and you want to be involved and see more real-time content, then please do. So yeah, let's get into the Q&A. Why did you want to do a van conversion?
For the first van conversion, we were just coming to the end of our university courses and both kind of decided that we weren't ready to go right into a job.
For me, like, I didn't know what job I wanted to do.
Yeah, me neither.
I'd done a bit of traveling before university. I'd actually accidentally taken 2 gap years. So I already knew that it was something that I loved doing and I kind of wanted to do it again.
I, on the other hand, had not taken a gap year. I'd been straight through school and university and needed a break, really.
We kind of settled on going traveling after university, but we just didn't know how we wanted to do it. I'd spent all of my time during COVID watching van conversion videos and van life videos. I kind of decided it was something that I wanted to do. At this point, by the way, we'd only been dating for like a couple of months. So
yeah, not even that when we started talking about it, I don't think.
It was a bit crazy, and I'm glad that it did end up working out because I think it could have gone very differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the main reasons why we decided to do this was we had no idea what else we wanted to do with our lives. We both wanted to do some traveling, and we also wanted the ability to work whilst traveling, and having like a tiny home with you allowed us to do that because we had access to things like internet, a dedicated workspace, things like that.
Having a camper van at the end of it as well also meant that you had something to sell and get a head start on whatever next step we ended up doing, which I think is different to backpacking, where you possibly would use up all the money you've saved and then have to start from scratch. I think for me as well, I'd just done an engineering degree and wanted to do something with it before possibly never using it again. Because a lot of engineers do not end up in engineering.
It was a fun project as well. We looked at it like a fun project.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that when we actually started it,
there were some troubles when we actually got around to it, but yes. You think of it as a fun project, and for the most part it was. I
loved the idea of that tiny home space that you could design however you liked. As a kid, I reckon everyone does this, but as a kid, I loved building like little dens and and like tree houses. Why do we stop doing stuff like that when we get older?
So now at this point, we have had to come back to the UK for a couple of years.
I wanted to go back to uni. It was a subject I really wanted to do, and also in psychology, you kind of have to go back to uni to progress in a career. But I was really conflicted because I didn't want to let go of the van life and the travel. I loved the adventures that we had. I loved that feeling of freedom and being able to go and do whatever you wanted to when you wanted to do it.
It also seemed a bit of a waste to only do it for a year and a half. I think we wanted to keep it going a little bit longer. We'd also built up quite a nice little social media following, which was really cool, and definitely isn't something that we expected when we were doing the first one.
I didn't think that we would, like, why would anyone watch us? Through our social media, we realised that a lot of people wanted to do something similar but had no idea where to start. Yeah. And we were thinking of ways that we could actually sort of help other people as well, and we kind of settled on let's do another van conversion and let's show people exactly how to create their dream tiny homes too.
So yeah, we're by no means experts, but we wanted to create this little guide to kind of show people step by step what the process would be.
How did you train your cat to live in a van? So this little muffin right here is our van cat Lola. If you follow us on other socials, you'll probably know her because she features quite heavily on them. We got her a couple of months into our first build. We both loved cats and we were kind of looking to adopt one anyway. But yeah, she came up, she needed a home. She had previously apparently been thrown out of a window. So yeah, she was kind of in desperate need of a home. We went to a viewing to see her. And she had these huge ears as a kitten, and Will picked her up and she immediately started purring. She had this really, really loud purr, and the people who were fostering her said that she didn't do that to other people, and we knew instantly that she was ours. But yeah, how did we actually train her? We've had to move further in because our camera was overheating, which is crazy because we live in England and it's
never warm.
Really not hot.
We actually picked her up about halfway through the first van conversion, which was good in a way because we had quite a lot of time to acclimatise her to the van and kind of do some harness training and make sure that she was okay going out in nature.
Before we got her, there were a couple of things that went into the decision. We obviously had to consider the possibility that she wouldn't like van life, the possibility that she would get sick when travelling, the possibility that we would have to change our travel plans to accommodate her, and also all the things that we would have to do to make sure that she was safe and happy in the van. So yeah, if you are thinking of getting a cat and thinking of doing van life or taking them travelling, please consider these things beforehand and make sure that you have a plan just in case they don't like it.
I think if it's, you know, if you're doing van life just for the occasional week or weekend, you probably don't even need to think about it because you can leave the cat at home or with a friend or relative. But dogs as well, if you were going to take a dog with you, then you really need to think about that, because I think leaving the cat in the van, which we got used to doing every now and then, was generally fine. As long as we kept the temperature in there okay, she had food and water, then we knew she was going to be fine. But I think with a dog, they need a bit more attention.
We started harness training as soon as we got her. We bought her a little harness and she hated it.
Oh, she looked so cute though.
Yeah. The first time we put it on her, she sort of like waddled about and then fell over onto the side. And I wish we had a clip of it, but we unfortunately weren't really filming things at that point. We harness trained as soon as we got her. We took her on a couple of walks as well with us. The first time we went to like the sand dunes next to Will's house, which is funny because now knowing what she likes and dislikes, she would absolutely hate that. She likes trees and she likes forests and things like that. We bought a bag and we started bag training her really early on. We fed her meals in the van and we made sure that it was a really homey place for her. Oh, we took her in the car a lot actually.
We knew from the start because we had to pick her up from quite far away and we took her in the car on the way home. And she sat in the front seat and fell asleep. So we kind of knew straight away that she wouldn't have a problem with travelling, which was good.
Then we actually started travelling with her.
For our first major trip with her in the van, we were heading down to France to stay with Mira's parents for a little bit. So it was kind of like a test run, you know, we weren't going very far. So we just wanted to make sure that she was going to be okay and wasn't going to stress out all the time.
When we took her over to France, she was actually completely fine. We were a little worried about letting her out and things like that, but it wasn't anything major. We felt okay with it. When we set off properly, it was really hard. We didn't anticipate it being so hard. It was so difficult that we actually were regretting our decision massively. She screamed a lot in the van and we were constantly worried about her being outside, about dogs, about her running away, and that also led into more worry about if she was going to be healthy in the van, if she was going to be happy in the van. It was a couple of weeks into being in Norway, which was the first country we visited, and me and Will decided to go on a walk and we'd left the van door open and we noticed that Lola was following us. So we were kind of thinking, okay, how long will she follow us for? Let's just walk away.
Sweden and Norway were great as well because there was nobody else anywhere. So we felt quite confident in just going for a walk, letting her follow and knowing she was going to be okay. So on that walk, we just kind of kept pushing how far we could go and ended up doing quite a long hike with her following along behind us.
Maybe.
I think it was.
It was really weird. After that, she decided that she really loved hiking. And so we take her out on hikes more and more, starting off in places which were really quite remote, knew that absolutely no one would be around, no dogs. And we very quickly learned what she liked and what she disliked. And we also learned that she didn't like harnesses that went over her head, where you had to pull it over her head. So we bought this harness from, I think the brand is Martin Sellier, and it's got a little butterfly as the logo. and that clips sort of over her back, and she much prefers that. So despite all of the harness training, I think what we actually found out was that it was just the type of harness. And yeah, after that she was kind of fine with the harness. She didn't love it, but she has to wear it when she's on walks. We did obviously lead training before we left. It might have helped a little bit, but again, we found that she actually preferred to walk off the lead. She likes doing it that way. We obviously take it with us just in case she needs to be leashed, I guess.
Yeah.
But we've just decided we're just going to make sure that the places we go to are as safe as possible for her off lead. And that also means checking that it is possible to walk your cat or dog off lead.
As she got used to hiking as well, she also became more comfortable in the van and going out of the van on her own. So if ever we were in, again, a place that we knew was safe and empty and free of people, we would tend to just let her go for a little bit in the evenings.
Yeah, but actually it didn't start like that.
No.
We started by, she was always attached to the van. She was harnessed and clipped into the van. We very quickly found out that she was a liquid. She's a liquid kitty and she could get out of her harness if she wanted to. That didn't last very long. After that, we would sit outside and we would watch her. And then as we started to realise like the patterns of behaviour that she would have and the places that she felt safest, we would then just let her go. She learnt to come back to her name, actually.
Yeah, she's a clever girl. She recognises her name. She recognised that the van was her home and always knew how to find it and come back to it. And we always made sure that we were able to keep an eye on her. At first, we just had an air tag which we put on her collar, which was actually pretty good looking back at it. It's not the best in terms of GPS tracking. You can't really tell exactly where she is, but you can get close enough. The alert that comes with the air tag is quite loud and you can identify her fairly easily. But we did end up upgrading this to a tractive tracker, which is a company that we'd followed on social media for a while, which has much more accurate GPS tracking. So we put this collar on her and we can tell exactly where she is at all times. And we can also set things like virtual fences, so we could set one around the van and we could be alerted when she went past it and we could go and find her and grab her if we needed to.
It was only really the first 2 weeks where we were really thinking, oh my gosh, this is terrible. After that, she very quickly adapted to van life.
Yeah.
And now she misses it. I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Now that we're back in a house and she's kind of limited in when she can go out and the places that she can explore, we can tell she's getting bored of like opening the door and having the same garden in front of her every day. We've
created a bit of a monster as well, because now we can't leave the house. If she's outside and we want to walk down the street somewhere, she will follow us because she thinks she's going on a walk. So we have to place her back at the house and run away from her so that she doesn't follow us.
It's quite sad, actually.
And every single morning we walk over to the van, she follows us to the van, we put her in and then we drive her back home because she can't come to the workshop. So yeah, we have created a monster.
But hopefully when this one's done, we can take her on another trip.
Yeah. I think on social media, a lot of people do have van cats and van pets and things. But I will say that you do adapt your travel a lot to suit your pet's needs. So that is something to bear in mind if you're thinking of getting a pet and living in this way. We pretty much always chose parkups where we knew she could free roam and would be safe, which meant that we didn't stay in cities very much. We didn't leave the van for long hours. We did have a pet camera inside so we could see her. But yeah, we wouldn't leave her for really long periods of time. We had to buy aircon because obviously she's a cat and she needed to stay cool. Just things to bear in mind. It's not easy, but I'm really glad that we had her and she...
Definitely. I think she had a great experience and I'm glad that we could give that to her.
Yeah. What happens if you get into an accident?
We die. I love my nan very much, but she does worry. And we got this kind of question quite a lot from her and my parents as well before we set off.
And also there's the added factor of, yes, this is our entire home with all of our stuff in.
That we spent a lot of money on.
Thousands of pounds on, yeah.
And it's true, you do have to make sure that you are going to be safe and covered. We've had, some very minor accidents and some close calls and things like that. But we've been fine and we've got through it. We've got a good comprehensive insurance policy. We also have RAC cover, which we've used several times.
Truthfully, anything can happen. Your house could catch on fire. Like your actual physical house could catch on fire. Because you can just minimise risk.
So yeah, we've minimised the risk as much as possible by limiting the amount of time that Mira drives.
That's horrible. Ultimately, if we crash, we crash. We'd have to deal with it at the time. So the budget for our first conversion was £15,000.
We ended up spending £16,900, which was fine. I think these projects always go over budget.
Yeah. It was quite high spec. We had a fully off-grid electrical system that would last us for several days, a shower and toilet inside,
gas system, gas cooker, heater, water heater,
an oven, which we barely used, but it was still pretty cute.
And obviously it was a big van and it was a Sprinter, so yeah, lots of things that would add to the cost, basically.
We also have a full cost breakdown sheet, which goes through all of the items and products that we used in our previous van, the links to where we got them, and the price of each item. This time around, we had to bear in mind that the prices of everything have increased. So if we wanted to do a van of similar, if not higher spec than the one we'd previously done, then we would obviously have to increase our budget quite a bit. We really wanted to be able to create this van conversion guide as a resource for other people as well. And so to be able to do this, we needed a little bit of support. We would reach out to people to see if they wanted to sponsor us and help us create this guide too. And we were really, really lucky to get a sponsor, which means we do have a higher budget for this build.
The budget for the new build is £25,000. How do you find all of the pretty spots to park up?
So there's a really clear answer to this. It's an app called Park 4 Night with the number 4 in the middle. I'll put it on the screen.
If you've done any vanning before, then you'll know about this app because everybody uses it.
Yeah.
Which is good because people using it means that more spots are added all the time and you get actual reviews from people who've been there and they'll tell you about any problems that you need to look out for. The van life community is great at keeping this app updated. We found it to be really reliable as well.
There's also other apps like iOverlander, which I've heard is better for US van lifers, like based van lifers. We mainly used Park 4 Night and then a little bit of just Google Satellite View as well. Yeah. Why didn't you just buy a caravan?
Because they're gross.
No, they're not. They're not gross. We wanted to build our own little tiny home.
Yeah, we did.
And, you know, caravans, they're great for certain things and for certain people, but we wanted the ability to go off-grid for multiple days at a time. We wanted to go to parkups that you wouldn't be able to take a caravan to.
Yeah. You can't really take a caravan to the kind of wild nature spots that we wanted to visit. And like Mira said, you can't really stay off-grid for extended periods of time. And we wanted to be able to do it ourselves and design the van in a way that we liked and included all the features that we wanted.
In general, we really loved the old van. There wasn't anything major that we would change necessarily.
Yeah, I think we had a few small issues with the way we'd done certain things the first time around. But yeah, the layout we loved and we were reluctant to change it. But I think if we were doing a new build and also making content for it, we didn't want to do exactly the same thing again, so we are going to change it up.
So yeah, there will be a completely different layout. There's just some little things. The shower drain in our old van wasn't quite right.
We've made a slightly custom shower tray and the slope on it wasn't quite right. Access to the cab as well, we just had like an upper window in that first one, which was I quite liked in general, but it was very hard to get through. It was not graceful. To access the cab, it wasn't graceful at all. It
was in general needed some organisation, I think. To keep sort of plates from rattling about and smashing.
I think we can maybe build that into the new one.
Yeah, that's
like organise the drawers,
And also the drawer clips weren't great, and we've got a nice idea for the new van that we're not going to talk about yet, but
it's fun. I've seen some other people do it.
Yeah, I guess those are the main differences. Though, like the layout is going to be completely different. And also colour scheme wise, I don't know what we're going to do with that.
Again, I really like the first van, but we've got to change it up a little bit.
What jobs do you do? So I'll talk about my job, or my lack of. I graduated in psychology, used to work as an assistant psychologist in neurodevelopmental conditions. I absolutely loved doing that. Yeah, now I'm sort of doing a university course, so I'm back at university in an area that I really like.
Mira is also the main manager of our social medias, so you do all of our editing basically.
That's not really saying, like...
That is saying a lot. Yeah, this takes a long time. And I am fortunate enough to have a completely remote flexible job as an engineer for Noma. We design electrical systems for vans and off-grid installations like this. So if you do need to get an electrical system sorted for your van, definitely go check out Noma, submit an inquiry form and you can talk to me I've actually got an affiliate link, which I'll put in the description, which means that if you go through that link, you can get a little bit of money off of your system. And it means that I get a little bit of a kickback from it too, which is always appreciated.
Yeah.
Having this experience also means that I'm really looking forward to talking about the electrical system in this van, because it's something I've been quite excited to put together. And we'll be doing some more detailed videos about how to design your system so you can do it yourself if you want to.
That will be in the Van Conversion 101 videos. So again, like if you are interested in that, then give us a follow.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you press the bell as well, you'll be notified when we release new videos. I think this question is often framed in a negative way on a lot of our videos. You must have a trust fund to be able to do this.
It's weird because actually we get comments going both ways. We get people saying, you're so poor, you live in a van.
Yeah.
And then you get people saying, oh, you've got a trust fund to afford to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, which is it?
Yeah. Truth is, you know, we don't have a trust fund, but I would absolutely love to have one. But, you know, the money is from jobs that we've had, and the money for the new van is sort of coming from sponsorship as well.
We do obviously accept that we've been very lucky in certain places as well. We stayed with my parents for a long period of time while we were building the first van.
Yeah. So yeah, we've had a lot of help in not necessarily the financial part of it, especially for the first build. We appreciate that we've been lucky, and
definitely
very much appreciate all the support from family members and
from all of you guys as well. Yeah, all of your support on social media means the world to us.
Does Lola get on with other animals? Lola?
No.
Yeah, she does.
She has 2 friends maybe, and a lot of other animals despise her.
But she loves cats. Like she loves
She does.
cats.
Yeah, she does.
She wants to play with them, and I think that is her problem because other cats...
She tries to play with them too quickly and too aggressively, and they don't like that.
Yeah. Will's family's cat is called Alfie, and
he's the stupidest cat you will ever meet.
Oh, he's sweet though.
He's sweet, but there's nothing in his brain. He looks at you, and it's like there's no thought. No.
But he doesn't really like Lola. My family's cat called Lilo and Lola.
Yeah.
Also doesn't really like Lola, but Lola adores her. She will follow her around. She will try and go up to her. She will try and play with her, and yeah, it doesn't go well.
In the van was her first experience with lots of different animals. So we had times when we stayed on a bison farm. We introduced her to goats and chickens and rabbits, and she was always cows. Yeah.
Oh, and she also met moose. It was through a window, like some of these things, but yeah, she's
always very wary.
Yeah.
And definitely scared of the bigger animals.
Yeah, she really likes to watch them, I think, from afar. So your boyfriend does all the work?
Ridiculous.
Yeah. No. We both have our separate, what would you call it?
Responsibilities.
Yeah, we both have our separate responsibilities.
We have our separate talents, don't we?
Yeah, I guess. Will does more of the practical side of things. But
that's not to say that you don't do any, because I think a lot of people saw our first van and, you know, comments on social media were saying, oh, well, he's done everything. Yeah. And that's because Mira was working for a lot of that. So when she would come out to film videos and things, I was the one doing the stuff.
Work. Yeah. I worked full time during our first conversion. So yes, Will did do more of the work. That's like a given.
Yeah.
I didn't have the time to. And I think truthfully, you know, he is, especially having done that first conversion, like you do know more about the practical side of things.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm okay with that. Yes, you do more of that stuff, and I do more of the like filming the videos and doing the content side of things, and also maybe like design aspects.
When we get around to the interior stuff, I think you'll be doing more of the design. Yeah,
it's kind of frustrating because truthfully that's just what happened for us, and I know that a lot of people will say, oh, it's just because she's a girl, like a woman. I think that is a big thing, but it's not true. Like I've seen tons of, you know, solo female van builders as well. Yeah, that's just not how it worked out for us.
You're also spending 2 days a week at university, whereas I work remotely, so I can go down to the workshop and do some extra stuff. So that contributes to it as well.
Did you ever argue in the van? What did you do? Yes, we absolutely did argue in the van because I refuse to believe that there are couples who never argue about anything. That's not to say these were huge arguments or anything.
I don't think we really argued that much.
No, we didn't, but as in we didn't have huge arguments or anything.
No.
But obviously we have like small
disagreements.
Disagreements and things like that because everyone does. It's normal.
The main challenge is just dealing with those in such a small space, I guess. But to be honest, we never found it too bad. You know, keeping the cab separate means you do have a separate space. If someone needs to cool off, you can go read your book in the cab for a little bit.
You can go in the toilet.
Yeah, I'd sit in the toilet for an hour. Go for a walk.
Yeah. I mean, I'm joking, but also I'm not really joking because I guess you could use those spaces.
Yeah.
Realistically, we just were pretty good at like doing our own thing if that ever happened and talking through it and you know, all of that boring stuff. I think you do have to be quite good at expressing how you feel and talking about things if you're going to live in a very small space with someone else. Right. We don't hate each other yet.
Which is amazing, really. We really should. 2 van conversions and a year.
Like, it really frustrated me when he would get out all the pots and pans and just like not wash them up. I clean the floor every single day.
I'd love to get people's opinion on this. What's better, right? Because you're making it out that I wouldn't clean the dishes at all. Is it better to make your nice dinner, eat it while it's hot, and then do the dishes, or make the dinner, do all of the dishes so it's nice and clean, but then you have a cold dinner? No?
I went
for the former.
I'm not. That's not even what I'm saying. Okay, I always make sure that if I'm making a meal, I use the least amount of pots and pans as possible so that I don't. What if you had kids? The only baby that we'll be having in a van is our fur baby. How did you go to the toilet?
Lovely question.
To put it simply, we had a bucket.
It's a composting toilet, which is more or less just a bucket.
It's really funny that it's sold as a composting toilet when what it actually is a big, it's 2 buckets, okay? So you've got a bucket at the front for peeing in.
Liquids.
And a bucket in the back for, you know.
Solids.
And what you do is you put a bin bag in it. You fill it up with a little bit of like sawdust or dry material. You do your business, and then you put some more sawdust on top. So it's like a big litter tray. What did Lola need to travel? So we spent a lot on our cat to make sure that she could travel safely. To get her from the UK to France initially, we had to get her a pet health certificate, and that cost £200. We also had to get her a rabies jab, which cost us £50. So that initially got us from the UK to France. Obviously, she also had to be up to date with all of her other vaccines, but I assume most cats are. Once we were in France, we had to go to a vet there and ask for an EU pet passport. This cost £25, and we also had to get her another EU approved rabies jab, which was €50.
So yeah, it costs quite a lot, but I think once you've got the EU passport, it's a lot cheaper. Paying for that initial trip from the UK to France was crazy expensive. Yeah.
Once you have the EU pet passport, you can go to and from France and England as much as you want.
And all across Europe, pretty much.
Yeah. It works even in countries that aren't in the EU.
Yeah.
So yeah, make sure you obviously check beforehand. But yeah.
It's cheap and pretty much covers you everywhere.
What happens if you break up? We've come close to this many times.
No, we have not.
He doesn't know it. We'd obviously split her in half.
I get the front end.
The big ears.
Well, you can have the butt end, that's the point. We would be splitting custody of our cute cat.
In all seriousness, this actually might be something you have to consider. We've actually talked about it.
It's important to talk about it so you kind of are on the same page with what would happen. I think this was more relevant maybe when we had the first van because it was fully converted, and I don't know, I think we talked about it, and maybe one of us would keep traveling and one would go back, or I don't know.
It's really hard because we kind of think about it like, well, we hope we would split amicably and still be able to talk to each other and things like that. And I don't see that not happening, if that, you know.
Well, who knows?
But yeah, I don't know, it's one of those things again.
Yeah. I think we would just sell the van and split the money.
So I think that's pretty much everything. If you have any questions or suggestions, then make sure to leave it in the comment. We're so excited to get on to the next steps of the build.
So we're spending the next week doing a bit more of our detailed design and finalising where things are going and what we're going to be including, and make a start on insulating, first fix wiring, building a bulkhead wall. That's all coming up.
Also, I've just noticed Will's wearing my socks. We don't live in a van anymore. We don't have to share.
Oh yeah. Anyway, we really hope that you enjoyed this video. Definitely check out all of the other stuff that we've got on this channel, including the Van Conversion 101 video series.
Make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Bye!